Rain hammered the asphalt, turning the city streets into jagged, dark mirrors. Ava stepped around a deep puddle, her boots splashing against the concrete. She kept her head down, weaving through the crowded sidewalk. Around her, laughter erupted from small, tight-knit groups huddled beneath shared umbrellas. They moved with a fluidity that made them look untouchable. Ava drifted to the edge of the curb, letting the distance grow between her and the warmth of their conversation. She pulled her phone from her pocket, the screen flickering to life. Images of polished, high-contrast lives scrolled past luxury, travel, endless golden hours. She swiped until her thumb grew sore, then cut the power. The sudden darkness of the screen caught her own face staring back. The streetlights overhead buzzed, a low, rhythmic drone that did nothing to mask the silence of the alleyways. She stood still for a moment, the heavy downpour soaking into her skin, and whispered into the cold air, "Why is my world so gray?" The city offered no answer. Only the wind, biting and sharp, pushed her forward toward home. The next evening, a flicker of light pierced the gloom of the alley. Between two crumbling brick buildings, a structure stood, its windows glowing with a heat that defied the storm. Ava moved toward it. The door creaked open, and a bell chimed, thin and sharp, cutting through the sound of rain. Inside, the shelves were packed with jars, each cradling a swirling, brilliant core of light. An old woman waited behind the counter, her silver hair catching the amber glow. She watched Ava with intense, unblinking eyes. Looking for a better life? The woman raised a golden jar. Inside, tiny figures moved across a yacht deck, surrounded by flashing cameras. She pulled another from the shelf, a perfect life. Ava stepped closer, her breath hitching. She reached out, fingers trembling against the cool glass. "I want this one," she said, pointing to the shimmering gold. The woman's expression hardened, her eyes turning cold as she spoke. "Every life has a price. You cannot return until midnight." Ava pressed her palm against the surface of the jar. The shop did not fade. It exploded. The walls, the jars, and the old woman dissolved into a rush of blinding, white light that swallowed her whole. The light receded, replaced by the sterile hum of a luxury suite. Ava stood before a mirror, but the face looking back was a stranger's, flawless, polished, and entirely alien. A phone on the marble nightstand vibrated with a relentless, rhythmic buzz. Millions of notifications cascaded across the screen. A voice barked from the doorway. "Miss Sophia, the interview starts in 20 minutes." For days, the glamour served as a barricade against the world, but the cracks widened with every passing hour. A manager shoved a heavy script into her hands, fingers digging into her arm, demanding a smile that felt like glass. Her social media feeds were not a sanctuary. They were a flood of vitriol and malice. She had no friends, only an audience waiting for a stumble. One night, while searching for a pen in a gilded vanity drawer, she found a handwritten note tucked beneath a stack of contracts. It was signed by the real Sophia. The ink was jagged, hurried. "I feel trapped," it read. "I am terrified they will stop caring." The words hit Ava with the force of a physical blow. She looked at the expensive walls, the cameras, and the endless, hollow light. The fame was not a gift, it was a cage, and she had built the bars herself. The suite door slammed shut behind her. Ava hit the marble hallway at a dead run, ignoring the startled staff. She burst onto the street, but the city had transformed into a labyrinth of gray steel and blinding rain. Every alley looked identical. Every corner felt like a dead end. She pushed her legs harder, breath hitching in her chest, the cold water soaking through her skin. The clock on a distant tower struck 11. She had 1 hour. She scrambled over a slick brick wall, boots skidding on the wet pavement, and stumbled into the darkness of an industrial passage. Her lungs burned. She felt the weight of her own life slipping away. She turned a sharp corner and saw it, the flicker, the warm amber glow cutting through the deluge. She didn't slow down. She sprinted toward the light, her hand outstretched, fingers aching for the familiar jar she had left behind. She hit the door with her shoulder, the bell chiming a frantic, desperate note. She collapsed onto the floorboards, gasping, her hands shaking as she clawed at the air. The old woman stood there, her silver hair unmoving, waiting in the silence. The shop was back, and the clock was ticking. The shop dissolved into shadow, and the heavy smell of old parchment vanished. Ava gasped, her lungs filling with the smell of damp air and morning dew. She was back. She blinked, her vision clearing to reveal the familiar angles of her own bedroom. Sunlight cut across the floorboards, casting long, golden lines over her books. Downstairs, the steady, rhythmic sound of her mother humming drifted through the floorboards. It was not a grand sound, nor was it loud, but it was real. Ava stood up and walked to the mirror. She did not look for flaws. She looked for the girl who had survived. The gray world she once despised now held depth in every shadow and corner. She grabbed her bag and stepped out into the street. The rain had stopped, leaving the pavement glistening under a pale, rising sun. She walked at a steady pace, eyes scanning the neighborhood. She noticed the way the moss grew between the brickwork and the precise pattern of a spiderweb on a fence. The shop was gone, but the lesson remained. The beauty was not in a jar. It was in the mess, the struggle, and the quiet, ordinary life she held in her own hands.